So we all know that there is a huge shift going on right now on the planet. And if you're an empath, you're probably one of those people who doesn't really matter what side of the argument in the conflict that you feel, you understand resonance. And you understand that everything in this universe is a resonance. And there's a resonance of peace, and there's a resonance of war. And that as a collective, the human resonance is at war with itself. We are at war with ourselves. I think it's because we are seeing more clearly than ever what we really are. We're seeing what can happen when we let things go unexamined, unlooked at. And we're really being held accountable. But if we truly want to thrive and bring peace to this planet, and most importantly, bring restoration and healing, we have to be able to be okay with looking at parts of ourselves that might be really uncomfortable to look at. I say all this because I want to invite you, all of you who are watching this, to tune into the resonance of abundance. Tune into the resonance of peace, of restoration, of healing. And it's important that you think of the word restoration, because you can't just go from being broken to being fixed. There's a restoration period. Even in being fixed, there's a process in which it unfolds. And that process can feel a lot like chaos. It can feel a lot like being undone. It can be very scary. And it's important to really be present with yourself in those times and not to judge yourself. You can look at the parts of you that you may not resonate with and know that it's out of alignment with your truth, and still give love to yourself. Still allow yourself to have the lesson. If we withhold love, we never get the lesson. We never grow. We are never fully restored. And humanity, it seems like right now, is really battling with love, with withholding love, with loving. When we see something that we're angry about, we want to withhold our love because that's our way of saying and letting the world know we don't like that. But when it's us, the human race itself, what do? And as the axiom says, as above, so below, as within, so without. So everything that's going on right now is a reflection of something going on within us. And I think it's so cool and crucial to remember this, because when we remember that we are the only ones at any given moment who have any sort of control over our resonance, we can tune in. We are the only ones that know what we're tuning into. We're the only ones that can have access, that intimate access to what's going on within, inside of us. And I really feel that if we were all to take a moment and tune in to our hearts, the innermost resonance of our hearts, and just feel it. Like mine right now is beating really fast. And when I feel the collective, the heart of the collective, I feel that it just needs compassion. It needs understanding. And it doesn't mean we say anything we've done in the past that has been painful and hurtful and caused separation that we're saying is okay. We're recognizing the wound right now. We're seeing how certain ways of thinking and believing and consent, energetic consent that we've given for certain realities, how it has wounded us. We're feeling the wound of separation, which is the deepest trauma of the human race. It's feeling separated. And because we're angry, there's a lot of anger going on, which is a necessary and important energy. A lot of us feel that anger and then feel shame about that anger, especially empaths, because we can feel every side of the story. So to favor one person's side over another feels like you're choosing your right arm and between your right and your left arm, or one child or the other. You can't separate your heart like that. And yet we feel the separation. And so what I've boiled it down to, it seems like the highest leverage point that we could do, knowing what we're capable of, knowing that we don't have any control of anything that goes on out there. All that we can have any control over is ourselves. It seems like it's crucial right now to practice the resonance of restoration, to practice what it feels like to allow healing, and to know that it has to happen in here first, so that we can become that resonance of healing and vibrate it more on the planet. And the cool thing about what we know now, what we're learning now in science, We know that everything is a frequency. We know that this entire universe is based on frequency. And we know that each frequency holds a different vibration, a different experience for you. We know that we're capable of turning a radio dial into the frequency we want to hear. And as exactly the same, we can tune our hearts to the resonance of healing, to the resonance of hope, to the resonance of understanding and respect for humanity. I personally feel like humanity, it is our humanity now more than ever that needs our attention, that needs our love, not our judgment. Our, like being good parents to a child when they've done something wrong or something potentially very dangerous for themselves. We don't shame them. We don't withhold love, but we hold a space for the lesson to be unfolded. This is what it feels like to be separated from your heart. This is what it feels like to be so disconnected from your emotions, then have it one day show up in your face. Because just because you've ignored it doesn't mean it hasn't been there the whole time. And that's what's really interesting about this shift. Nothing has actually changed. This vibration has been going on forever. It's just now in the open. We're just seeing it now. It's just being shown to us very, very, very clearly. And we're looking at it on so many different levels and judging it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's an important energy to have. But I guess the reason I'm doing this video and the reason I'm even bringing this up is because I want to challenge us, all of us, to really look within and ask ourselves, if I truly believe that I create my reality and that I am a co-creator with lots of other powerful people on this planet, and that I know pretty much in my experience I found that most humans want the same thing. We all want respect, we all want space to create freely, and we want a win-win-win. We want to feel good. We are creatures of pleasure. We are always going to seek pleasure. We're always going to seek to have an exhilarating experience here. And if we shame that part of ourselves, we shame the very nature of what we are and the very fuel of what drives us. So it's important, there's a beautiful butterfly above me. It's important that we allow ourselves to meet our needs. The basic needs, the needs to feel good, the needs to feel respected. And I guarantee you, if you say to yourself, I allow myself to experience this, I allow myself to have respect, I allow myself to experience love, I can tune into that resonance now, this second. There is absolutely nothing saying, ooh, another butterfly. There's absolutely nothing saying that we're not allowed to feel good. But what's holding us back from feeling good is this intense judgment we're having about being human, which means being limited, being in process, being a being that's evolving, literally in the process of evolving. We're really hard on ourselves, and we like to think of ourselves as much more than we are, because we are much more than we are, because we're becoming that. We know that already. It's in our blueprint, and it can be confusing. So I've talked a little longer than I wanted to on this, but this entire video is to invite you to start tuning into the resonance of abundance and to meet your needs now, to allow yourself to have your needs met and to really tune into what your needs are. A lot of what we think we need is only a symbol pointing to something else. Money, for example, is a symbol of freedom. What is it that you're actually asking for? And give yourself it right now. Give it to yourself for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, hour, 10 days, whatever time you can afford it, but give it to yourself now. So remembering that we are more than what we have believed we are is only the first step. We have to start realizing that if we are more, what does that mean? It means we have access to a higher way of being, a higher technology, a way of communicating with each other that's not based on this really elusive middleman where we're all fighting over whose truth is truth. And that's what a war paradigm looks like. That's what a psychic warfare paradigm looks like. But when you are in tune with your emotions, when you're in tune with your whole emotional center, all that matters is that the resonance of peace, and you can feel it. It doesn't matter, again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what side of the argument it's on. You just hear that you feel the resonance of war. You don't have to be that intelligent to understand that when you understand vibration and resonance. So if we could just tune back into that, most of us have muted our heart. The world, the humans in general, in order to survive, have had to shut most of our hearts down. And so that's been in our DNA, and it's been proven that DNA carries memory. And so we have literal belief systems that have been passed down into us it's in our blood, that affects how we operate. And seems to me the only way to evolve beyond that is to become aware of those beliefs that have caused certain ways of being that maybe aren't necessarily the way we are. It just came from being in a lack mentality. It came from being in a matrix that was primarily about surviving, not thriving. And so we learned all these ways to survive, but they didn't help us thrive, they helped us survive. When we understand, when our hearts start coming alive again and we allow them to be restored, we realize that we have power that is immense. I know any of you who follow me know I talk about this all the time, but I just love how science has now proven that the heart is the strongest electromagnetic field in our body. It's stronger than the brain. It's 5,000 times magnetically more powerful than the brain, and 60 times electrically more powerful than the brain. The heart reaches out further than the brain. It attracts further than the brain. And that's why you see these sort of crimes, these passion crimes, or people who get triggered and then go shoot people at their school. It's because we have neglected the heart. We have not understood how beliefs work and how energetic agreements work. And we have focused entirely on surviving. And so those of us who have come in highly, highly sensitive, that have been not able to get our needs met in any way, are high, dangerous triggers. Because if you've been in a traumatized situation, you're a highly sensitive person, and you've never been healed or taught how to release old agreements that no longer serve you, if you're triggered and it triggers that deep wound and you've had it with this place, who knows what you would do? When you remember your power in those moments of despair, that's when the greatest villains are created. And it's part of the process. And so it seems to me that it would behoove us to pay attention to these things about humanity and use them for our benefit. So if we know that triggers are what cause some of the most detrimental tragedies that we have on this planet, it seems like that our number one goal right now should be to neutralize triggers. How do you neutralize triggers? You have to be willing to feel them, meet someone where they are, and shift the vibration. If you're constantly running from a certain kind of energy, you're never able to turn around and face it and shift it. And that's how it gets stronger. I think that's the whole what you resist persists thing. That's where that comes in. At least that's how it's felt in my life. But I want to invite you, those of you who are empaths, I know most of you who follow me are empaths or highly sensitive people. And I want to invite you, because you're masters of resonance, you're master feelers, especially in a world that has primarily chosen to shut the heart down for the most part to survive. We've come in with strongly, highly sensitive centers. We can feel a lot. And that is a superpower, and it's needed right now, and it's no coincidence that you incarnated on the planet at this time. And so I want to challenge you. I want to invite you, to tune into the resonance of abundance. And to know that as you do that, you're doing it for the collective, because we are one big supercomputer and we're all connected, and you know that because you feel everyone. We're the most advanced technology there is. So, resonance practice. I just keep getting that feeling that the most important thing is to practice the resonance of abundance, which is the resonance of being able to meet your needs when you have them. And most of our needs right now are real needs, especially for those of us in first world countries. Our real needs are deeply emotional, and we are holding the grid. We are the grid holders right now. Those of us who are in first world countries, we hold the power. So it's important to take that power responsibly and know the resonance that you hold, you create, period. We're the ones that get the news flashed out. We're the ones that all of our stories are told. Our stories are being sent in like a virus to everyone else. So we need to clean it up. We need to clean our story up, and we need to know that we're allowed to do that. And the only way we remember to do that is by remembering that we have power to do that. You don't even need permission. In this moment, right now, you can get your needs met. You can shift and tune into, what does my deeper heart need? If I was going to neutralize the triggers in my body that are causing me to go into war mode, what would I need? And most of the time it has to do with beliefs, that very core beliefs that we made when we were children about our worth or our value. And we don't realize that something happened, we agreed to that, yes, I have no worth, and so therefore this entire universe is operated on belief. So if your core belief is, I have no worth, then the universe and your experience will always reflect that back to you. And that's why humanity is feeling so broken right now, because it's feeling worthless. And yet it's realizing how much power it has at the same time, and then feeling shame about that power. And then feeling like, oh, I better control everyone out there, or shame, or belittle, or whatever the other out there, so that they get their act together so that I can feel better about being a human on this planet. It's a really intense time, but it is also one of the coolest times to be alive, because what I found is that the more you learn to shift into the resonance of abundance, the faster shit in your life shifts. And it's amazing to realize, wow, I could, in 10 minutes ago, have been in a totally different reality, and 10 minutes later, I'm in a totally different reality. I'm in abundance. I went from lack to abundance. Instantly, you can do it. But the more we practice that resonance, the more our brain develops the neural pathways where we start realizing the other potentials that are available that you don't have access to when you're in a state of fight or flight. And that's what humanity as a whole, the collective, is. That's what's going on. The central nervous system of the human heart is in fight or flight. And so the best thing that we can do is neutralize that, because when we're calm, we're more open to ideas, we're more likely to listen to each other and really hear each other out. It's time to do that. And those of you who are empaths and highly sensitive people, you are the forerunners of this, you're the experts of this, you're the masters of this. I want to invite you to play a different game. Most of us have been operating in the matrix of lack. And most empaths, we went in that matrix to see, okay, what does the separation feel like? Because unless we know what it feels like to actually be in a reality that you believe you're separated from your power, from your higher self, unless we know what that feels like, we won't know what to give humanity. So we opted into these experiences and lives where we were highly programmed with the matrix of lack. That we don't have enough, that we're not powerful, that we can't meet our needs, that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, all of those things. And we see how detrimental it is to live that out, to believe, we know, just having been downloaded with that program, how painful, utterly painful it can feel to be human and have that kind of belief system. It's excruciating. So when we start realizing we don't have to have that belief system, we can actually have a whole different belief system. We can change our beliefs, and that when we change our beliefs, we actually change the neural pathways in our brain. We actually start firing different neurons, and we start creating something new. And that is what we need. We don't need more fighting. We have been fighting for 2,000 years over who's the most powerful, whose truth is the biggest truth, who screwed who over, who enslaved the most people. Humanity has been enslaving people from the beginning. It's just something we've done. We need to look at it, and we need to say, okay, what causes us to do that? What makes us so afraid of our own power that we would seek to take it from someone else? We really need to look at that and know that it's a collective human thing. And our minds, I feel like our minds are there. We know logically that it's not something that we want to do. And yet we continue to do it. Whether you literally have slaves or you're enslaving your own humanity by constantly punishing it. Self-punishing, guilt, shame, fear, guilt, shame, fear. You're unworthy of being a human. We keep putting ourselves through these cycles. And it's powerful to realize when you remember, oh yeah, everything's a resonance. And if I tune into a certain resonance long enough, it starts becoming my reality. And the more and more and more and more I tune into it, the more my reality becomes, and the more possibilities I see, and the more people I meet in that reality, and the more I realize, wow, there's way more to be hopeful about than I even realized. It was simply what I was focusing on. Everything exists. There's no reality that doesn't exist, and there's no reality that's not valid. Every reality is valid because it's built upon beliefs that helped us survive. Now, whether or not those beliefs will help us thrive and help us continue to evolve is left to be seen. You have to look, are they serving you now? And how do you know if they're serving you? What do we all want? We all want health, we all want wealth, we all want freedom, we all want respect. And we all want to grow. We all want opportunity to grow and learn. So let's give it to ourselves. Let's give it to ourselves. We have to give it to ourselves first. You know, when you're in a plane and the flight attendant reminds you in the beginning that should there be a drop in air pressure and the masks fall out, make sure, if you're a parent, to put yours on first before you put it on your child. Because if you try to put your child's on first, you'll probably pass out, and then both of you will pass out. So we need to remember that, those of us who are stewards for humanity, for the heart of humanity. It's a time that we really need nurturing and love, but also tough love, also like letting us learn our lessons. This is how we learn our power. We integrate our shadow. We integrate our fear. So I want to invite you to tune into the resonance of abundance, the matrix of abundance, and to make a conscious choice, if it feels good to you, to start creating it with people, to start just in your mind. This is how powerful it is to realize it's a resonance first. You don't have to go out there and convince anyone to join you or get people to agree with you before it's real. Just take a moment, close your eyes, tune in, access that space where you have unlimited wealth, unlimited potential, that wellspring of life that's your heart. Tune into your heart. And there was a huge bee that came and interrupted me. This video is way longer than I even thought, but I'm still gonna put it up. Okay, so tune into your heart. Allow yourself to have permission to access the matrix of abundance whenever you need it. Whenever you need it, because it's a resonance. And know that it's like a mother. It's like your ultimate nurturer. I've liked to think of it as like a castle, a magic castle, almost like Hogwarts, where it's equipped with all my needs to learn my power, learn how my power works, learn how my creativity works with it, learn what to do with it, but have boundaries and structures, and knowing that the castle itself protects you, but also is dangerous and wild, because that's what we are. We are dangerous and wild as humans. We need to realize that about us. It's really important if we want to learn how to communicate in a way where we're not triggering each other and constantly going to war. So, I'm asking people, I'm asking you, I'm talking about this because I feel like in order for it to be in the collective conscious, we need to talk about it more. But more importantly than talking about it, we need to feel it. We need to tune into it. We need to experience it. We need to ask ourselves, what would I do different if this was my main sense of resonance? That I had everything I needed when I needed it. That all was well. That challenge is part of this experience. That growth is uncomfortable, and that I'm here for a reason in this process. And that everything's eternal. Nothing ever really dies. Energy never really, it just changes forms. You can't destroy it. So we really can't ultimately lose anything. Ultimately. But there is the reality, the 3D reality of separation. And that is real. We have this kind of illusion that we're separate, that I'm different than you. And we're all expressing unique expressions of the one thing that we're all connected to. It's so freaking cool and amazing. It's an incredible process that I feel like if we were able to allow ourselves, our hearts, just enough time to feel it, we would remember what a blessing this is, and we would instantly have access and know what to do right now. We wouldn't feel powerless. We wouldn't. So I want to challenge you to start tuning into that. And I'm going to be talking about this primarily more than anything else, is tuning into the resonance of abundance, tuning into the abundance matrix. So if you want to hear more about the abundance matrix and what I feel like our role as empaths is in that matrix, and also how to maneuver within it, how to become more conscious of how you're manifesting and how to tune into that resonance, I think the more we tune into it consciously and connect with others who are tuning into it, it becomes more of our reality, and it becomes easier and easier and easier to access. And then we put we really hold that vibration and that resonance on the planet, and we become a match for it. So sign up for my email list for a free class on the abundance matrix, especially if you're an empath or highly sensitive person or creative person, anyone who serves the grid right now, who serves the human collective. Highly recommend it. All right, love you guys. Hope you're doing well.